this club from nothing. And I loves it.
Welcome to episode 10 of In the Dugout. Today, very excited to announce we have Neil Sturgess on with us. Sturgess, how are we doing, mate?
I'm very good, thanks. Stu, yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Excited to have you on.
It's a pleasure, mate. All I hope is I can answer your questions and give you something to share with everybody else, and it'll be interesting and it'll be a good watch then.
I'm sure it will, mate. And like the last couple of episodes, well, we've done 10 now, and they're all, been really taken up really well, and getting a lot of people talking, and that's what we want, just trying to get everybody reminisce about the club, and no better person to have on, I don't think, Neil, than to get you on now, mate. So we'll and you're in pretty much every single team as well. I'll be mentioned in every single episode, so we've got to get you in, yeah.
Good, man. Well, I've been a bit surprised at that bit, to be honest with you, Stuart, but it's nice to be so well thought of, as it were.
Yeah, of course it is, mate. Brilliant. So yeah, Neil, we'll go straight in, mate. So what's your first memory? What was your first memory of Bony?
Well, that's quite an easy one, actually, Stuart. I went to school in Lansamlet at Morriston. I played a bit of rugby for a Morriston Rugby Club, dare I say it, under 13s, under 14s, I think. And we played on the bottom field in Bony, and I think it was, like I said, under 14s fixture. I ran out on the field and I thought, my God, how big are these blokes?
Yeah.
There was one particular player. He had a beard. He was about 9 foot wide. He looked about 47. He was only 14. It was Ray Punchard. and Ray basically, I remember playing up the hill. Ray was basically unstoppable.
Really?
He was a monster even at that age.
Yeah.
So really, that was my first memory of playing against Bony. And then I think about a year later, a boy I was in school with, Keith Park, good mate of mine, played rugby all the way through school with him. He said to me one day, he said, fancy coming up to play in Bony?
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about it. I said, yeah, okay. So we ambled up, met him at Trashlown Shops, ambled up the hill, got to the bottom field, wandered across the bottom field towards the sheds, the old sheds. The field was on a hell of a gradient.
Okay.
And we stood up on the first team field then, and there were about 16 or 17 boys playing touch. And on one team, you had Steve Terry, Cookie, was captain. Right. And on the other team, then you had Rob Davis, Ginger Rob, he was the captain of the other team. So they both looked at each other and said, well, I'll have him, about me. And then the other, Rob said, oh, I'll have the other one, Keith Park. We were playing sevens, and then this monster of a bloke, Ray Punchard, was there again. And they were playing like Kevin Brooks, Wayne Jones, Steve Mainwaring, Martin Hand, Jonathan Bevan, Martin Leonard, Tony Barrett, a lot of St. Thomas Lieutenant boys.
Yeah.
All those names may not mean anything to Stuart. And then Mike Hurlow, Andrew Majors. So we played sevens. I think we played touch, and we did a bit of full contact. And it was probably coming pre-season time. And after we finished playing, one of the boys said, come on, let's go in the clubhouse. Of course, there was the old style clubhouse there, and you went up the steps, turned left, you had the lounge that was hallowed ground.
Yeah, the green room.
Right in through the bar, and I'm looking and thinking, wow.
Yeah.
And then somebody opened the sliding door into the hall, and it was like Pandora's box. I'm looking at all these trophy cabinets, the captain's board, and trying to take it all in. And I think that was when I was absolutely bitten, bewitched, and entranced by Bony Rugby Club.
Yeah.
And we came away from it, and then we went training again, and Kai played sevens, and then I basically said, right, I'm going to play up there. And I'm sure it was either the under 15s or under 16s that I started with.
Right.
And I can remember we were playing away somewhere, and we were on a bus. We had a bus in those days, and I think Derek Lansbury was the coach.
Right.
And he stood up on the bus and he said, boys, he said, and Derek was a very lovely man, very quietly spoken. Has anybody seen Raymond Punchard and Andrew Fairbairn? Well, Ray was our key man, and Andrew Fairbairn played scrum half, sometimes outside half. We all kind of looked and shook our heads. And then all of a sudden, Michael Hurlow, God bless him, he's no longer with us. He just popped his head up. He went, yeah, I can see him, Derek. So Derek said, where are they, Michael? They're behind us. So Derek thought, oh, okay, they must be having a lift. And Michael had a big grin on his face, and he said, have a look. Well, I looked out the back bus window, and there was Raymond riding a Triumph 650 motorbike. He must have been whatever on the farm. He's on the front riding it.
No.
Raymond's only 15 or 16. And on the back, hanging on for his life, was Andrew Fairbairn with 2 kit bags and a bungee around the 2 of them. Yeah, he didn't have a license. He hadn't passed his motorbike test. So we ended up, Derek Lance, we just sat back down and put his head in his hand. I think we were playing in Mynydd Bark. I think it was in Penlan or somebody. Well, we got there on the bus, and who's waiting in the car park, like, Jack the lad, is Raymond.
He got there before.
He got there before the bus. So that's one of the things that sticks out for me, first going up and playing in the under-16s. And then, obviously, we moved up into youth. And as you know, so youth was kind of 16, going on 17 through to 19. He finished at, 19, and then he went into the seniors. Well, most of those boys, we all moved up together. And it was sort of the first year of kind of the new youth team, if you like.
Yeah.
And, we had a good team. We were doing all right. And I can remember we played people like Winarlyde and Swansea Youth on a regular basis. I remember playing Swansea Youth on the bottom field. Yeah. And he had some superstars, and he'd give us a bit of a thumping. And then, we went out places like Morriston and Penlan. And then one particular game, we were playing Trebanos.
Right.
And I think this was coming to the end of my first year in youth. Trebanos had a good side, great pack of forwards, some tough nuts in the back row, and they had 2 half-backs. Robert Jones.
Oh, wow.
And Blairton Bowen.
Oh, wow. Flip the neck.
No, Blairton was playing outside half, and Blairton was just playing us on the bottom field. He had us all places. He was running the show. So somebody gets the message on. I'm not sure. I don't think it was Tony Clem. It might have been Alan Howells or Steve Planchin. We need to get hold of Blairton Bowen, and you need to sort him out. So, bottom end, down the slope, 10 yards up from 025, there's a mall. I thought, I got my chance. I was steaming into this mall, chucking a few bombs, bang, bang, bang. But what I didn't realise was I hit this boy, Kevin McNamara, who played in the back row. Kevin, tough nut. Yeah. Belting hell out of me back. Kevin, meanwhile, he's chucking him into Blairton Bowen. So the next thing now, the whistle goes now. I thought the referee was going to have an apoplectic fit. And the referee was Robert Davis. I remember Robert Davis.
No.
Young rep. Robert he went all at the ladder, and I think he refed at international level in the end. But anyway, whistle's gone. And you know that dreaded sound? It's that whistle you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
So he calls me over now, and he's giving me the finger now, and you throwing punches, red card. And he sends me off. Yeah. I'm thinking, so I looked over my shoulder, and he's wagging the finger now at Kevin, and this Kevin Brooks, this Kevin McNamara is looking at me now and sort of laughing. Yeah. Blairton Bowen's kind of wiping himself down. Well, I start walking up the slope now towards the sheds. My temper's gone. I had a terrible temper in those days, and anything would lose it. And I was breaking my heart. I'd been sent off. My God,
gutted like
bone of mine. 10 yards from the touchline, I thought, I'm not having this. So I got down on my hands and knees, and I pulled a lump of mud and a clot together, molded it like a cricket ball. And I turned around like this, and I loaded up I played a bit of cricket, and I loaded my arm up, and I could hear this voice. This slow motion. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Too late. It's gone. And it's heading now straight at Kevin Brooks, Robert Davis, the ref. And somebody shouts, "Ref, look out!" And as they both turn, it kind of exploded like a cluster shell. It's Robert Davis. Whack in the chest. It goes all over Kevin. With that, now I just turned and I carried on walking. Well, that particular day, the first team were playing on the top field, and it was a bit of a misty day. And I can remember it like yesterday. There was this big fella, big mop of curly hair, in a big sheepskin fur coat. And at that time, I hadn't met Tony Clement. Well, it was Clem.
Right.
He'd seen it. He comes walking down. He puts his arm around me, puts the coat around my shoulders. "Come on, boy," he said. "We're going to hide you round the other side of the club." So off we go, wasn't it? Anyway, cut a long story short, I get summoned now in front of the committee. But the committee in those days, Stuart, there must have been 30 odd people on there.
Yeah.
If you had to sit in front of the committee, it was like sitting in front of a hanging judge.
Yeah.
Right?
You knew you done something wrong, yeah. Like
You had the chairman, with the vice chairman, the secretary, the treasurer. You had them all, and then you had all the committee men. Now, Tony Clement at that time was club captain, which by virtue of that allowed him to sit in committee meetings.
Yeah.
Steve Planchant, one of the coaches, was also sitting in the meeting, and they were sat to the right of me, see, and they were making faces and sticking their fingers up, just trying to wind me up to get me laughing. See? And I was like, I was shit.
Yeah, he was scared, like,
Absolutely, and it was like Ronnie Davis, the old club secretary. He read the whole situation like I was in court. You, Neil Sturgess, the defendant, you have been found guilty by unanimous verdict of throwing an obstacle or an object at referee Robert Davis in the match against Trebanos.
No way.
Honest to God. And I'm sat there and my bottom lip is going and feeling like a Clement Planch in the corner of my eye now. Making faces. And then the next thing is, would the defendant please rise? And I'm thinking, they're going to hang me here. I'm going to be sent away to prison. Yeah. Anyway, cut a long story short, Ronnie Davis then says, right, the committee hereby find you guilty, and by virtue of the power vested in us, the club is going to penalise you and ban you from playing for 3 months.
3 months?
And I thought, okay. So I'm still standing there now, and then Phil Thomas went across the room and said, Ronnie, pass me the letter. So Ronnie passes this envelope across now, and Phil Thomas pulls this letter out. And again, this was a letter from the WRU.
Yeah.
They said to the club, they would also ban me for 3 months.
Flipping
so I got a 6-month ban now for lobbing a lump of mud.
Yeah.
Hitting in the chest and getting sent off for punching, throwing punches.
Oh my God.
And I'm sat there and they said, right, you can sit down now. Well, Clem and Planchy, they're kind of holding themselves back from laughing. Yeah. And I thought to myself, okay, I'll accept it, I'll take it.
Yeah.
What nobody knew at the time was I was going into the Merchant Navy.
All right.
I think that happened in October. I was going in November. So I was going away 3 months training anyway. And then I was going to go away to sea. So I thought, it didn't really matter.
It was worth it.
I wasn't that bothered. So anyway, went away, did all the training in the Merchant Navy, went away to sea, and I can remember it like yesterday, Stu. You're going to believe it or not, I was sitting on the deck of the ship I was working on, drinking a can of Tennent's Extra, smoking a fag in Grenada in the Caribbean, 80 degrees. There's cruise ships all around. There's Americans, there's tourists, there's all sorts going on. And I got on one shoulder, this little dragon saying to me, this is the life for you, boy, you made the right choice. And on the other shoulder, I kid you not, I got this little bird singing to me, Bony my rugby songs. God. And I could remember I was breaking my heart. I was so
really?
Yeah. Oh. And the next thing, one of the boys grabbed me and said, come on, we're going ashore, we're going ashore. And of course, I got back to the ship and I thought, this isn't the life for me. So I jacked in. So my little going away to sea lasted probably less than 12 months. Well, the following September, guess what? I'm back. I'm back playing. But I had a year left of the youth, see? So anyway, Steve Blanchard had taken over coaching the youth at that time, and he was actually coach of Swansea District.
Yeah.
Well, I'd done pretty well because I was getting noticed by Swansea District, and I played a few games for Swansea District against people like Aberystwyth District, Cardiff District, Bridgend. We went away to North Wales on a trip with a lot of boys from, the Swansea area.
Yeah, class, yeah.
And one of the guys I played with was a guy called Andrew Pritchard. His nickname is Tiger. He's Rory Thornton's uncle.
Okay.
Hell of a second row. He wasn't the biggest player in the world, but a great forward.
Yeah.
And we were big mates playing for the Swansea District side. Anyway, I can remember then, I think probably the last game I played for the youth, we were playing against Morriston in the semi-final of the Cup up in Swansea Uplands. And Morriston had an influx of Penland players because I think the Penland youth team had collapsed. Well, one of them was Tiger Pritchard. And they had a few other boys. They had a very, very strong side. So anyway, Swansea Uplands, lovely night. We're going at each other, hammer and tongs up front. I get caught wrong side of the ruck, and I thought, here it comes.
Here it comes. You got to expect this.
Wallop, straight in the back of the head. And I thought, it was burning. You could feel that hot sensation, the blood running down my neck. I get up on my knees now, get up off the floor, shaking my head. And I looked, and it was Tiger.
Oh, he did you.
I the finger and he just winked and he laughed and said, stay on the wrong side, pal.
He love it.
Herbie Hughes comes running on now, Herbie. Says,
Herbie, yeah.
Oh, you've got to come off. I said, fill it with Vaseline stain on, I'm going to get him back. No, you've got to come off. Well, anyway, I had to go off. So, down the hospital, 14 stitches in the back of my ear.
Done a good job.
Good. So yeah, the youth was, as a lot of boys have said this, as you know yourself, great times. You didn't really have anything too much to worry about.
No, that's right.
Made some great mates, and Tiger is still a great mate of mine now. You know,
you still remind him about that, Neil?
When I see him, but he's not well. He's not a very well man now. He's a stroke or something, and I haven't seen him for a long time. But I see Rory's father, Andrew, and mother, who's Tiger's sister. Have a chat to them.
Nice.
But yeah, it'd be great to catch up with him again. So I guess in summary, those are my real first memories.
First memories, brilliant. So do you know when you finished playing youth then, Sturge, was it kind of like, you know what, I'm busting to go and play for the first now, or the senior team? Was there like that burning kind of feeling for you?
Oh, absolutely, mate.
Do you remember your first game then?
Yeah, in those days it was, you trained as you played, and we used to have trial matches. Pre-season trial matches. We would have the first, the seconds, and the thirds, and then the selection committee would pick sides, and you play a 20-minute spell, a 20-minute spell, a 20-minute spell.
Yeah.
And if you ended up in the first team, the last first team for the last 20-minute block or last 30-minute block, that kind of meant you made it in the first team.
Okay.
Luckily for me, I'd ended up in the last block for the last half an hour in that team, and I was then picked to play in a friendly, if there is such a thing as a friendly in a rugby match, because for me, Stuart, in my world, it isn't. Every rugby match is a war as far as I'm concerned. So I was picked to play in a game against Vardre at home on the top field. And I think Clem's got a photograph somewhere, and I can remember it. We're on the Vardre 10-yard line. Somebody's taking a great shot, and it was Charlie Cunniff fucking. You had Di Jenkins, Lucid Prop, Ivan Pugh Tighted, Clem, Brian Jones, me, Ken Isaac. I think it was the mark, or might have been Malcolm Griffiths and Alan Powell scrum half. Yeah, Clive East. It was the full Monty, and we basically annihilated Vardre. And I thought, oh yes, I like it now. Yeah, this is what I want. You know, this is where I want to be. Yeah. And I didn't really kind of look back from there. I was fortunate enough to hold my place in the first team, and you could say it was Malcolm Griffiths, God bless him, he's no longer with us. It was his misfortune, which became my fortune, because Griff, outstanding rugby player. Really, absolutely outstanding. He was working away a lot. Yeah. So he was playing number 8, and I kind of stepped in while he was away. And then if he came back, I may play blindside flank, or sometimes I played open side. But in those days, Stuart, the old West Wales rugby, it was different level. Every game was a war of attrition. It was the law of the jungle, and you had to make your mark. And every game I played in, my opposite number, I'd be in his year, or I'd get the first one in, and I'd cop one back, and I'd make sure. Because if I didn't, you used to get battered, and I mean battered. Charlie could confirm it in his interview. Yeah. It was, and you were playing the likes of Winala, New Duck Stars, Pontedillice, Vardre, Seven Sisters, Astrogunlice, Pontedowie, Mumbles, Brinkhawk, Dungan, battles. Tumblekin, not all the time, but you always played against those sides across the West Wales leagues. Is there any game that stands out in particular for you there, Sturge? Oh, there's a couple. There's one that was burnt into my memory, probably for the wrong reason again. We were playing Winarlive at home. The Winarlive were an absolutely awesome side. Right? A big pack of forwards, tough guys, good set of backs, some real strong runners in the backs. We were playing them at home. Well, this particular week now, before the lead up to this game, there was this big announcement in the press. Winarlive to unearth this giant second row from Cardiff. All right. We're all thinking, who's this? Yeah. Well, anyway, next paper, Patrick Nolan, young policeman, transferred him down from Cardiff to Swansea. He's going to make his debut for Winarlive against Bony this coming Saturday. Yeah. So there's all this press now about this giant second row. So of course that was like. Yeah, red rag go forward. Of course it was. Yeah. Anyway, Kevin Brooks is playing. Ironically, me and Kevin again. I can't
Bit of
remember
a bit of a pattern here, stage.
whether Kevin was playing second or what he was playing blindside that particular day. But when our life ran out, and out comes this fella. He looked about 6'7".
Yeah.
Short blonde hair, and Pat was a big, heavy man then.
Yeah.
Pat he'd been a basketball player. I think he did basketball trials for Wales.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the game starts, and here we go. First couple of lineouts, Pat is winning everything because he's much bigger than anybody else.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this is getting a bit worrying for us now. So I can't remember who it was. Said, right, somebody has got to do something. We've got to sort it.
I'll have to stop you there, Neil, right? Because there's twice you said this now, right? And there's twice you said, well, someone's got to sort. Was it you? No, is it you?
Let me finish. It wasn't. No, trust me on this one. Anyway, line out. I think it might have been Mark. My brother was at the tail. Me, Kevin Brooks, Pat Nolan was one down in the line out. Ball comes in, up goes Pat Nolan. I'm like this, watching now, waiting for him to come down so I can try and get my arm on. And as he's coming down, his feet at the floor, there's this whap. And I thought, what the hell is that? And then I'm stood there like a punch bag. Yeah. It from everywhere.
What's going on?
Kevin had belted Pat. Right? Broke his cheekbone, knocked him out cold. Oh, God. Pat is prolaxed on the floor. I got the Winarlite back row. Norman Slattery, Jeff Trotman, Tim Lillycrap, and when they second was Peter Goodridge, blaming me.
No.
I was innocent. So anyway, they cart Pat off. Rest of the game, then it's stuck in the punches and it's retribution, then, isn't it? And it's all kicking off. I think we won that game, and in all fairness to Pat, God bless him. The following season, he joined us.
That's right, yeah.
And the rest is basically history. So that one's kind of burnt into my memory, Stuart. And then another game I can remember like yesterday's, because in my day, I'll admit it, I was a referee's nemesis. I was an absolute nightmare to referee.
I can relate to that.
Kidwelly away on a Wednesday night. I think it was a cup game. Neil Lucas was the coach. He decides to make me captain now. And they got the side is full of people like Clive Hurst, Clive Wallow, Brian Jones. And I'm thinking, I'm 22 years of age and I'm the captain.
Great honor.
Anyway, we're in the dressing rooms now, all getting changed. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say to these players? Well, next thing, Clive Wallow's gone outside and he's come back in. He looked at me, and Clive has got a great sense of humour. Great mate, Clive. And he just looked at me with a deadpan. He went, the press want to speak to you. What? Now I'm thinking, Western Mail? Evening Post? I open the dressing room door and I look outside and all I can see is this little bloke. And you probably won't remember him, Steve, but he was famous in West Wales. He used to run the line of the Scarlets. He used to wear a brown duffel coat. He'd have his glasses on that were milk bottle thick. Right. He'd always have a notepad. Yeah. And he spoke in a very funny voice. So anyway, I stood outside now and I'm looking like this. And he went, "Oi, you." And I went, "Yeah," he said. "Now, how do you think the game's going to go tonight?" And I'm thinking, Wallow, it's my third game in charge of captain. Where are you winning the cup? We're the top side. So I just looked at this bloke and I just went back in the dressing, closed the door.
Not today.
Clive was sat down, pulling his socks up. So he had to put his boots on and he said, "Press conference finished, Neil?" I said, "Actually, yes, Clive. It'll be in the Western Mail on Friday morning." Just to push back at Clive. Anyway, out we go. And you come out the Kidwelly dressing, we walk along the path, and it's a small postage stamp of a field of fencing all around one side. So out we go, and it's under lights. And all on one side is all these farmers with their walking sticks. And as we're walking, we're getting booed and all the nonsense is coming.
Love it.
So we get out on the field now. I'm captain. We're not doing it all well. Kidwelly Park had given us a bit of a tatering up front. The backs aren't playing particularly well. And they got this one fella in the back row. He's killing everything, this flanker. And I'm thinking to myself, you're ruining the game. You're going to spoil this. I'm going to get you. You're having it. And every chance I had to get to him, I couldn't. There's 3 minutes left on the clock now, right? He comes over, kills a ruck. There's about a couple of points difference. He's killed the ball again. And I'm thinking, climbing Mount Everest, you're having it. And And as I raised my right boot again, I got this voice, "No, don't do it." My brother Mark, see, but what I didn't know was the ref was right behind me.
Oh,
So I
right.
climb all over this flanker now, ruck him out, stamping on him, and I'd lost it again. So whistles going. So the ref calls me over. He went, "Sorry, Neil," he said, "I understand I couldn't penalise him." He said, "You stamped all over him, you've got to go." He sends me off. So I got to do the walk of shame now, haven't I?
Oh, no.
Past all these farmers. Well, during the game, I'd been tackled into touch where all these farmers were. And of course, it was, Sturgess, you dirty bastard. And they were trying to hit me with their walking sticks now. So I got to do the walk of shame now, past this lot.
Past them, yeah.
I'm ducking now. They all have to go these sticks. So anyway, I get to a safe distance now. What the rest of the game? We lost. Anyway, shower, I'm ashamed now. Go in the club after. And at that time, I just joined the police. Right, South Wales Police, see? Just finished training now. So, Jack the lad now, I'm a policeman. So I got to the bar in Kidwelly Rugby Club. Ginger Miles, who's on the same police training course as me, stood there. We get a pint each. Well, in comes the ref. Well, the ref was Les Peard. Now, Les again went on to referee international rugby, right? Great referee, but he was just climbing the ladder. So he walks up to the bar, see, and Les was a big tall man. He kind of looked at me, he said, "All right?" And I went, "Well, no, not really, ref." And I said, "Can I have a word?" "Yeah, of course you can," he said. So I went, "Listen to me now," I said. "If you're ever driving around Nice town centre, I'm going to nick you if I'm on duty, because I'm a policeman." But he fell on the floor laughing. I thought he was in a heart attack. And the hairs in the back of my neck are standing up. I thought,
It wasn't about like
taking the Michael. Well, anyway, he composes himself and he said, "Neil, brilliant," he said, "but guess what?"
Oh, no.
He said, "I'm a traffic superintendent on South Wales Police. How about if I pick the phone up now and ring you a boss? You're in Scotland."
Oh, no way.
It's one of those moments where you want to
Yeah, just
roll you up. And I just moved my pint and I went outside and I threw up. Well, subsequently, every time I saw Les Peard after that, we used to shake hands. We'd wet ourselves laughing about it. And then when he sent his ref report of me being sent off, it was great. There was no problem at all with it. So I guess that was my second sort of flirtation with referees, and one I threw a lump of mud at, the other one verbally abused and threatened to get him locked up and nicked for driving through Leaf Town Centre. Little did I know he was a traffic superintendent.
You're a traffic cop. Oh, yeah. So is there any games then, Sturge, that really sticks out in your memory? Like, a game that you've been involved in?
Well, it's to be honest with you, because I played across West Wales and I played in the National Leagues, the Heineken League.
Yeah.
There's so many of them, but certainly the Winarlive game, the Kidwelly game in West Wales, and then we've regularly played then sides like Wrexham, Tondy, Kempsey, Tenby, Pontypool United, Brumney, St Peters, Abercynon, and it was a different level. The games were much quicker, they were bigger packs, they were much better drilled, and I'm not decrying West Wales because that's where I learnt my trade. Yeah. But it was a much different game. And Tenby were a class act. An absolute class act. And they came out to our place one particular Saturday, and I just got back into the first team. I was playing number 8, and of course wound up to I Evans again. Decided I was going to fly hack and kick this ball, but I didn't kick the ball. I kicked the bloke straight in the base of the back. Snapped my shin bone. No. Snapped it like a twig, yeah. And you could hear it echoing on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
So for me, wanting to administer the pain and the punishment, it kind of backfired on me. It broke my leg. And I was luckily it was a clean break. I was only out for 10 weeks. I was back playing next season. But yeah, that was one that burns in my memory. Then all the valley sides, Mountain Ash, Abercynon, Treorchy, Blackwood, they were all real battles. Rumney, the top side, the top Cardiff side, big pack of forwards, great centre backs, very, very difficult to beat playing at home. Yeah. And they had this Afro-Caribbean, for want of a better term, flanker. He was about 6'3". He was ripped with muscle, and he could cover the width of the field in about 3 nanoseconds. Yeah. He was a superstar, right? He was a bit of a 400-meter runner, and he was causing havoc. So I think Malcolm Dacey was playing that day, and he just shouted a message into me because I was pack leader. You've got to sort this out. So anyway, I called the pack together. Look, boys, we got to try and slow this bloke down. So Billy McFenton was playing in the second row. Now, Billy wasn't the biggest second row. He was the most clumsiest second row I'd ever had the pleasure of playing with, or the mispleasure of playing with. Hey, Ted, he said, don't worry about it. I'll sort it out, because that's how we used to speak. Right, old Bill, leave it to you. 2 rucks later, this poor chap, he's caught in the bottom of a ruck, isn't he? Whack, whack. In it goes, isn't it? Next thing, everybody comes up. Game has stopped. And there's this bloke, he's split like a kipper. They cart him off. So when you get together again, and Billy's like with a big grin. I told you I'd have him, C10. I had him, didn't I? But of course, I don't know what it was. I had a red target on my back or something. I was going to cop the flak for this now. 2 rucks later, I go steaming into this ruck. Head down, arse up, straight in, not looking. In I go. Next thing I come flying back out on my arse. Mark Reagan, the Rumney second row, he's let me have it. Bang, wallop, and he split me under my left.
Oh no!
Anyway, Derek Ace, God bless him, he's not with us now. He was a physio, and I cannot come to you. Pavaz, I'm coming off. Anyway, off I went up to Morrison Hospital, and it walks into A&E. There's this Rumney flanker sat on one chair. Me in the other chair, he's having his right eye stitched up. I'm having my left eye stitched up. So,
same game, like
that kind of sticks in the memory. Stuart, but they were good hard games. They were good sides.
Yeah.
And then Wrexham, another very, very good side, and they had a bloke playing for them, a guy called John Westgarth. Nobody knew it, but he was ex-European heavyweight boxing champion. He sparred with Lennox Lewis, right?
Wow.
Big man, about 6'6", but he was an athlete as well. He was half-tidy rugby player. But something happened on the field, and Malcolm Dacey got involved and started giving him the verbal and threw a punch at this Westgarth.
Oh, no.
Well, he took umbrage to that, didn't he? Yeah. So I can remember, like, Malcolm Dacey's running that way, exit 1. He's shouting to me, you have him, you with him. I'm thinking, not being this guy.
You got yourself in this mess.
that I played in. Probably the toughest games were against Abercunnan, because they had a superb pack of forwards, a brilliant number 8, a guy called Neil Edwards. Very, very good set of halfbacks, and they were a real difficult nut to crack. So I guess, to summarise the national leagues and playing those games, there isn't one particular game that, apart from the ones I've mentioned, where these things have gone on that were, absolutely outstanding. Yeah, we go away to Kempigill, or we go away to Mountain Ash, and we'd win games away from home, which was always a massive, massive task. Again, very, very hard, and I was kind of coming to the end of my time, as it were, playing with the first team then. But it was a great learning curve. West Wales, war of attrition every week, great place to learn your trade, and then the national leagues, the game in professional, Heineken, there was loads of money flying about. It was a different world.
Looking back at your career then, Sturge, is there anything you would change, mate, looking back at it?
Well,
do differently maybe.
I don't think so, because I played with some great rugby players, played against some real tough nuts as well. We played Swansea twice in the cup, played them the first time. They were full of British Lions, with Diane, Tony Clement, and there was a guy there playing number 8, John Thomas. He was from my stage, about 6'4", built like a brick outhouse, could get around the field. He was a fireman. He was as fit as a fiddle. That was a hell of a game. They beat us well on the day. They stuck 20-odd points on us. And then the next one then was the game against Swansea, where we lost 11-3 in the cup at home. I was vice-captain. Mark John was captain. That was a game we should have won. And even Swansea said that. We should have won that game. So that one's kind of, burned into my memory. And Stuart Davis was playing number 8 that day. Stuart, great forward. Very strong man. But I think he said after the game, he said, nearly outplayed me for most of the game. He said, and I nicked the try at the end that won the game for us. Yeah. And then we played Flanarron in the cup one year, and they were a couple of leagues above us, and they had a number 8 playing for them, a guy called Trevor Wogan. He played for Cardiff, and I'd never seen a bloke as wide as him. He was like 2 doors. He had about 6 foot wide. He wasn't particularly tall. You just couldn't tackle him. Like for us, the weather was bad in Bournemouth. They couldn't get him going. But trying to tackle this Trevor Wogan took 3 or 4 of us. But we had a scrum on our line. I popped the ball off to Alan Powell, our scrum off. He wriggled over, scored a try. We won the game.
Yeah.
So they were players, back in the day, like the tumble back row, Paris Williams, hell of a number 8, Anthony Griffiths from Baring-Vaux, Mike Edwards, Steve Thomas, Anthony Bassett from Carmarthen Athletic. They'd all played for Abraham together. They played for Carmarthen Athletic together.
Yeah.
And one particular game, me, Tony, and Mark played in the back row against them down there.
Brilliant! Yeah.
And that was a war of attrition.
Yeah.
And then you had players like Brian Howells from Seven Sisters. He was a loose-head prop. He'd work a morning shift in the mine, 6 till 1, run across the road, come straight out in the field, be covered in coal dust, and he'd be the strongest thing on the planet. And he would do anything to him, and he wouldn't flinch. Absolute hard as nails. And they had a number 8 called Kerry Rice, very, very similar, minor, strong boy, tough man. And as I mentioned earlier, the Winarloyd back row, Norman Slattery, hell of a player. Real battles with him. The boys in Bardwick, Malcolm Perkins, Jan Minorek, Martin Probert, and then the Estrid boys, Kenneth Nichols. He was like playing against something from The Psychopath. Deadpan look.
They're the worst. They are the
worst. Out of him, but my God, if you messed with him, you were in trouble. He's actually Owen Williams, the outside half.
Yeah.
He's coming back from Japan. I think he's his cousin or his uncle.
Oh, right, okay.
What a hard man. And another boy then, Jim Morgan, Australian nice flanker. Jim played till he was about 45.
I think I played against him. He played for Cumberland Interest, didn't he?
That's him, Jim, yeah.
Yeah, he was a good player. Flip the neck. He was a beast.
You had 2 flankers in down in Carmarthen Quins. They were like 2 Jack Russell brothers, the Bynan brothers. They were like, the terrible twin. They were nightmare to play. They're both exactly the same size.
Yeah.
Looked exactly the same. And they were like 2 Jack Russells. You could
do anything you wanted to do.
Oh, and they would love it. And they couldn't shake you, like they're hanging on your ankles. But
brilliant.
Yeah, and then as I said, you had Abercunnan, you had a guy called Neil Edwards, Peter Cummins, an open side flanker for Abercunnan, Alan Haynes in the second row. Fabulous players. And in Mountain Ash, they had a guy, he's a legend. His name's Adrian Davis, and his nickname was Monkey.
Right.
About 6'4", he was a farmer, all raw boned, bit round shoulders, and his arms looked longer than his whole body. And I think they called him Monkey because he had the same shape as an orangutan. Well, anyway, every game, his mantra was he'd walk in the bar, whether it be home or away.
Yeah.
He'd have 2 or 3 pints of best bitter. He'd smoke 4 or 5 fags. He'd go out in the field and he'd be unstoppable. And in the days of the Heineken League, they used to have a man of the match award.
Yeah.
Every week. He must have won that 6 or 7 times on the bounce. I think he held the record for it. I kid you not. His name was Monkey, 2 pints, half a dozen fags, and he'd be like a lunatic on the field. Absolutely monster of rugby player.
The game has changed a bit now, hasn't it?
Oh, it has, but then, I played against Mark Wynn's brother, Paul Wynn, played for St. Peter's in Cardiff, another very, very good side. And I think Paul had something wrong with his kidneys, he had to finish early. Another very, very good boy. And then Ian Boobier played for the Scarlets, went back to Tondy, he was playing in Tondy, and a guy called Gareth Brown, another tough old flanker. And then Australian Ice at the second row, Nick Mabbott. Nick the Keck was his surname. Anything above a daisy, you'd have a face.
He'd have a go at
Nick wasn't the bravest of people, but he was a big man, and he'd shove it in from everywhere. So I think you had to learn fast. You played against a lot of hard men, a lot of tough battles. So I guess if you're talking then about most memorable games, Stuart, there's 4 or 5 I can recall. Charlie mentioned it last week, the Rumney game away with the famous Charlie Cunniff try.
Yeah.
I was captain that day. They had half a dozen Ebervale players playing from them. The 2 Dennehy brothers, 2 back row boys who played for Ebervale. Good forwards. We got away with that one.
Yeah.
By virtuous winning.
Take it all day.
We drew Swansea at home, which was the first battle of Swansea really. And I've never seen a man the size of him, Maurice Colcliffe. Absolutely enormous man. British Lion second row.
Yeah.
And Maurice is very posh, very, very, very well spoken. He was an English chappie. And of course, we're climbing all over him now and trying to get him going and wind him up and booting 7 tails out of him. And after the game, he said, "Hey, this is a quaint little place, isn't it? This Bony place. Do you live here, perhaps?" What?
No reaction. Like,
And then we played
brilliant.
Swansea the second time. Then the game had slipped away from us, the one we should have won. And Mark John got knocked out, and we missed a few chances. The weather went full circle against us. But after Swansea Park shook hands and said, "Boys, you deserve to win that." And there's a boy playing that day, Ian Davis, playing in the back row. Great bloke, Ian, policeman from Fletley. I bumped into him about a month ago down in Amroth. And he looked at me and I looked at him, and he's got a bit bald now. And he went, "Neil, is that you?" I said, "Yes, Jan. Come here," he said. And he strong. He picked me up, and he said, you gave me a right hand and I gave you a left. You nearly beat us at that bloody storm we played. So,
great memories, man.
That one is, you just kind of burned into the memory.
Yeah.
And then we played Tredegar then, away from home. We'd actually gone away to Tumble and St. Peter's and beaten them both away. We had to go to Tredegar and score at least 4 tries. To me, we clinched promotion, and it was all of us for Gunlights up there watching, and we did it. We scored the 4 tries. We beat them really, really well. And at the end of the game, Hugh Reese, who's our team manager, came in the dressing room after. He said, "Well done, boys," he said. "Guess what?" He said, "You can keep your jerseys."
God.
But he hadn't got permission from John Haig.
Oh, no.
John Haig found out, God bless him, John, he went absolutely ballistic. "You give those jerseys back." So again, but that was another real game to play in, after we got so far, and we went up and did it. And then I guess the pièce de résistance, mate, the one that is, I'll take it to my grave with me, was Bony versus Tumble, West Wales Championship playoff, Stradin. The might of West Wales against the underdogs.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, Clem, God bless him, was coaching with John Reese, and they'd gone away to watch Tumble a couple of times. And he came back and said, "Look, this is the plan. If you stop their rolling ball and upset their set piece, they got nothing."
Yeah.
So we worked out a plan that if they rolled it that way, Charlie would drop off. If they rolled it open, I would drop off. We'd both just steam in, just to upset the balance of the rolling ball. Game kicked off. First scrum of the game, we drove them off their own ball. No pack had ever done that to Tumble because they were that big and that good. But we drew, and of course, psychologically, then we got
massive.
Then we started disrupting the rolling ball, and we started nicking line-up ball. And we had a great set of backs out that day. Chris Davis played outside half. Chris, very, very talented player. Alan Powell, a scrum half. Derek Ace on the one wing, God bless him. Derek scored the length of the field try. Got called back by Clyde Norling because he said it was a forward pass.
Oh, yeah.
Why? How can you say it's forward? He's 35 yards behind it. Forward pass, bring it back. Oh, anyway, with the last kick of the game, 3 minutes to go. Diowell's our winger, kicks it between the posts. We've got 3 minutes to defend.
Yeah.
And we defended for our lives because that's how much it meant to us.
Yeah.
The real pleasing thing for me, Stuart, after that game was the whole of Tumble had come down to watch that game. The only thing that was left in Tumble was the pub dog. They took about 20 buses down. They'd rented a big party room. It was all going to go ahead because they were going to win the championship.
Yeah.
Straight after the game, there's 20 buses pulling out Straddy, going back to Tumble. Yeah, and we went in the upstairs in Straddy after, shook hands with the Tumble boys, had a few beers and thought, yes!
Yeah. God.
Yeah, that one is probably...
What an experience! What a day!
It was, mate. And we were total underdogs. We won section. We won section A about 40 times. Nobody gave us hope, but we did it. We did them in cold blood. And in all fairness, the boys were absolutely exceptional. Unfortunately, the 3 of that side or 4 of that side are no longer with us now that played that game. But that was an extra special event. And then I guess, from a player coaching perspective, and as a coach then, Stu, and I stepped down from playing with the first team at 33 because I thought I had this terrible problem with my groin. Right. But I later found out it wasn't my groin. I got chronic arthritis in my hip.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So I stepped down at 33, said to Ron Wall and Malcolm Dacey, "I'll take over the coaching of the player coaching the development squad athletic team." And I can remember when it was. We were up in Abercon on a Wednesday night. We'd just been beaten by Abercon. I made the announcement then, and Ron and Dacey said, "Yeah, fine, do that from next year." Yeah. So I started coaching from there, and I coached the likes of Ryan Thompson, Steve Phillips, Steve Scannell. But as boys came out of the youth, that side changed. You know, and I coached them for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. And towards the end of my coaching time, you know, the side that we put together then, it was the best I'd coached. You know, the likes of Gavin Appice, Bojeen, Manuel, Kevin Coco-Willis, Harold Morgan, Richie Clark, Dials, Andrew Llewellyn, Paul Harrison, Chris Harrison, Danny Jones, Stuart Turner, Sam Madden, Wilcox Brothers, Keith Brooks, bless him, Lee Rogers, and then Med Steve Ellis at fullback. And the last season, I guess I coached. They were hard work, mind, when I took them.
I bet, mate. Naming those names there.
Because they couldn't understand me and what I was trying to do when I had this philosophy. I was determined. This is the way you played. You mirrored the first team moves. You mirrored the line-up calls. You mirrored the scrum moves. And you play with passion and commitment and drive and desire. And I used to go off my head in the dressing rooms and I was giving it the old, you know, the warm-up speeches. Someone would be looking at me and they're, is he for real? In the end, they all absolutely bought into it. And it was like, watch. We were beating everybody. And I think the season before I finished, we'd won everything in Swansea and District. And Swansea and District committee approached Alan Miller and said, Alan, can you ask Neil if he'd be prepared to coach the Swansea District team to represent Swansea District in the Howells Welsh District Cup? I think Richard Scannell mentioned it to you in his interview.
That's right.
So Alan Miller came back to the club and I sat down with him. I said, well, to be honest with you, Al, I said, there aren't many better players in any positions across the district than what we got here. I said, go back to the district and tell them, yes, I'll do it, but these are my terms. The Bony development team will represent Swansea and District. And if there are any players that we need because of injury and availability, then I'll cherry pick them from the other clubs. And he accepted it. So ostensibly, Bony were the Swansea District team. You know, we started playing these district games. We beat Aberafan District. And I think I used a couple of boys from Sturgess in that one because we had a couple of unavailabilities. We beat Gwynton District up in Markham. We drew the game 9-9, but we won away on the away points law. I haven't got a clue where we did it. But
you got through as well, it matters.
And then we were playing Llanelli in the final, and Llanelli won it 5 or 6 times. By this time, I worked out this arthritis problem I'd had. I'd gone into this operation, a resurfacing of my hip. But it clashed with the cup final. And I came out of hospital a week before, and I was hobbling on a stick, and the final was being played over in Tartar Steel. Well, anyway, the fitness levels were good. All the line-up calls were in place. The scrum moves were in place. It was just a bit of tweaking on how we were going to play if Llanelli played a certain way. Well, anyway, we got over there, and it was me. Dean Fender was my wingman. Alan Miller was team manager. Paul Amicott was like our committee man. We got over there, went out, had a look at the field, and we were there loads of time, and the boys were having a wander around, and then got them in the dressing room. Didn't do the usual ranting and raving, and I said, I don't need to do it. Get out there, do what you got to do, and go and win this game. And in all fairness, they went out on the field, and they were absolutely awesome. We blew Llanelli and District away. I had some incredibly proud moments as a player, Stuart. You know, for Neath, I captained West Wales and vice captained West Wales on 4 or 5 occasions. Captained the club, played for the club across a couple of generations. But one of the proudest things for me was that season.
Oh, amazing!
Watching those boys winning that cup. Putting up with me and having to go through what they went through. And anyway, final whistle goes now, and the boys are cock a hoop, and I'm like, "This, you don't go jumping on me now, because champagne and water all over me." Anyway, they had to go up the stairs now at the Tartar Steel Club out on the big balcony to pick up the trophy and their own trophies. Well, only so many of these things were made, and they were lovely glass tankards that were engraved. Well, anyway, off they go now, the boys, and they all come out on the balcony now, and then you could do this smash.
Oh, no.
Well, Di Davis, who was in the squad, Di, lovely bloke, couple of pasties short of a picnic, mind. He dropped his, didn't he?
Oh, no.
It had to be him. It couldn't be anybody else.
Couldn't be anyone else.
They won the replacement.
Oh, no.
It was unique, absolutely unique, you know, because I think we were the last team to win that Howells Cup, because I don't think they played it since, because the district cup isn't alive anymore.
Yeah.
And every time I see the boys, I'll always remind them, and I get emotional about it. And if I do now, forgive me. I'll always say to the boys, you created history.
Yeah.
You created history that day. You were a club side that won a district cup.
Yeah.
You were the best district side in Wales.
Incredible. Isn't it?
You won every single trophy in one season, and that's never been done before. And you have gone and people like Stuart Turner and Danny Jones, all those boys who were part of the squad. They will say the same.
Yeah.
I will always remind them of it, because I'll never forget. It was.
You can't take that away from anyone, can you? Do you know what I
mean? They made me so proud, absolutely so proud. Mind you, 3 hours later, after about 20 pints, my hip was feeling. I thought, I'm going to play again. I'm going to play. I did. I did play. I played a bit after, and I think I played until I was 41, going on 42.
Oh, fair play to you, mate.
A varied career, Stuart. Would I change anything? Okay, maybe if I'd have focused and worked a bit harder on my fitness, I could have joined the Nice squad properly.
Yeah.
Apart from playing permit games, but my heart wasn't in it. I only ever wanted to play for Bony. And when I put that jersey on, that was my suit of armour.
Yeah.
And nobody was going to take me apart. I had that jersey on. That's how much it meant to me. And I got sent off, I don't know how many times. I was fighting, I got battered, broke my leg, stitches, ligaments, all the injuries. And I wouldn't change any of it for the world. I'd go back and do it all again tomorrow if I could.
Love it.
That's how much it meant to me.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, I'm not so involved as I used to be. But, the club, it's a huge part of my life. It has been for 40 years, and it will be. So as long as I'll go to the rugby club in the sky wearing my jersey, boy.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Don't get any better than that, mate, does it?
Yeah, so I had a great career, and a great playing career, and a great coaching career, because some of those boys, they were like my boys. They're like my son. All of them like my sons. And Med was a pain in the ass, but he's such a special rugby player. Yeah. An absolute superb talent.
Strong boy, isn't he?
Oh, brilliant blow, but such a nice guy as well.
What we'll do now in Sturgess, we'll go on to your Bony 15.
This won't be easy, mate.
No, I can imagine. Everyone who I speak to, right? This is the one that everyone's like, oh, flip me, I don't want to miss somebody out. I don't know.
Oh, I know.
But it's it is what it is, mate. So it's just the boys that you've enjoyed with, or the boys you played with.
I know. Well, if we start with let's start with the front row and Lucid props, too, if we can.
Yeah.
And again, going back to the old West Wales, with the likes of Andrew Majors, great prop forward, one of the biggest bloke in the world, but super strong. Yeah. Chalky White, Mr. Reliable, always moaning, no Chalky. Mind you, he was about 48 at that. When we were playing then, he's gonna love me for saying that. Chalky always do a job for you.
He's a top man.
Solid as a rock. And then you had a guy then, Di Jenkins, known as Tank, and he was the biggest Lucid prop I've ever seen in my life. Di. Yeah. But Di was a top Lucid forward, but he was also a monster on the field. He would batter props into submission. Yeah. Great player. And then moving through the ages, then with Geraint Evans, a farmer who came to us. Robert Price, Andrew Bogine, Gavin Napais, Ray Punchard played Lucid prop. Yeah. Chris Powell, Mark Llewellyn, Gron Davis. Gron did his bit with the old athletic squad. Guy called Ryan Perrott, Steve Scannell, Elmo Butio. I could go on and on and on, but I think if you looked at a prop forward who could scrummage, his set piece work was absolutely top draw, around the field, carrying ball. It would have to be Robert Price.
Robert Price. He's made a few teams as well, hasn't he, Sturge?
Robert was a class act. He came to us, I think, from Manusbach as a young boy. He went on to play for Aberafan. He went on to play for Bridgend. And I think he could have gone, a little bit further, because he was kind of the modern day prop in front of his time.
Yeah.
Great forward, great prop, great player to play with. Lovely bloke, Robert, but wouldn't budge an inch in a scrum. You could bet money on him. And then I guess hooker, again, go back to the day. Charlie Cunniff. Charlie was a great nuts and bolts hooker.
Yeah.
Charlie was a set piece hooker, ruck, maul, and Charlie was basically he was the leader of a leader of a guerrillas, a team of guerrillas, you know, pack of guerrillas, guerrilla warfare. Charlie would sound the battle cry, and I would be it. Over the top into battle we went, and Charlie would be there. He would lead it, and I would be right on Charlie's tail.
Yeah.
But Charlie didn't do any messing about.
Oh
He was
God,
a
no.
tough nut, Charlie, but great hooker for West Wales in the day, you know.
Yeah.
And then you had Di Fox. I played a couple of games with Di. Di was a freak.
Yeah.
He was quick as a winger. He was all bone and muscle. Good set piece for, but Di didn't like the nitty gritty. Di liked to get around the field, you know. I'm not saying he couldn't do the nitty gritty, but he didn't like it as much as being out in the field and, you know, using his ball skills and his pace.
Yeah.
And I think Charlie mentioned it. He scored 6 tries one game against BP Landasi on the wing.
On the wing, yeah, I know.
He was a phenomenon.
Yeah.
And then again, you had a guy, Aggie, Phil McArdle,
Phil.
little short, bit plump, hell of a set of arrows on him, could throw the ball, could hit second over with his eye closed. And then moving through the years, and Yayan was starting to come into it. And then we had all these hookers come into the club then when the game went professional, like Di Roberts, Hugh Williams, Mark Bernard. And Yayan saw them all off. And then you had Adrian Percy, great hooker. Darren Poland, and then latterly then with the Athletic, it was James Bibby and Carl Emmanuel. But I guess if you looked at the game and the way it was played, I would have to say I played a lot of rugby with Ian Jones. And Ian would
Ian's in there.
For me, over Charlie.
Great player.
Yeah. And
Mobile, good hands.
Oh, absolutely. Ian had great ball skills. And Ian was, you know, he's 6'1". He's a big man, big lump.
Yeah.
You know, if it was going off, Yayan would be in, he'd be there sorting it out. He'd be, you know, giving his 6 months worth. And Yayan was top boy of a new side. You know, when I was pack leader, you know, for a number of games, Yayan was always there in the front line.
Awesome.
Good boy.
He's been selected in a few teams as well. You are tight dead now, Sturgess?
Tight dead. I guess same again. Still over the years, Andrew Fitzgerald, Fitzy. Leighton Griffiths. Leighton was a converted number 8, went switched to tight end. Great forward, tough as old boots. You know, in the battle, no messing about. Leighton would always be there. Mark Llewellyn and Monsey. Monsey used to do a job on the tight end as well. And then Will Rees back in the day. Klein Morris did a bit on the tight end. Terry Purdue. Yeah. Terry played tight end a couple of games. I remember him playing against Tumble, you know, this much vaunted Tumble pack, and they ran out on the field. We were on the top field up our place, and they looked at Terry and thought,
"No, not today." Not today. Yeah,
Terry was into his power there, and
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so Terry played a few games, and then as the game moved into the professional era, we had Nigel Evans, short, squat Nigel, great
Bring Keith in, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then a boy called Richard Doble, who came to us, played for Aberravon, played lucid and tight end. Another good prop. A guy called James Alvis. He was a school teacher. Come up from
he was Birchgrove, wasn't he? Birchgrove school teacher.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And then I guess if we were looking for a tight end prop, just a scrimmage, Stuart, then you'd have to look at Ivian Pugh. Ivian was an absolute legend of a scrummager. And then, of course, with Alan Bevan.
Yeah.
Alan, big lump, but he didn't know whether he wanted to scrimmage, run over and catch the winger, chase the fullback.
The loose like.
Lovely boy, but he used to forget the nuts and bolts, the basics. Yeah. He'd want to be around the field with the ball in his hand, and he was a big mobile unit. But if you're thinking purely scrummaging, it had to be Ivy and Pooh.
And a lot of people have spoke so highly of Ivy and Pooh. Made a lot of teams as well. So fair play to this guy.
God bless him. He's not with us too long, and he was a very, very good friend of mine. He was the clumsiest prop forward you ever played with or against. Oh, if you got kicked, it'd be Ivy over. But he was such a lovely man. He wouldn't say boo to a goose. You know, he wouldn't get involved in any of the nitty gritty. You had to look after him, you know. But and he wasn't particularly big on top, but he had massive legs. And he was my training partner. I used to have to pick him up and carry him, and he was about 19 stone. I said, "Why have I got you?
Why you got him like that?
Why me?" But yeah, of course, he kept me fit. And he was he was a brewery rep. And whenever we played away, he'd always put a keg of beer on for us.
Oh, man, even
brilliant. Ivan was absolutely brilliant. And I can always remember Tony Clement used to wind Ivan up something terrible. in the old dressing rooms behind the bar now. We'd play, and the first thing Clem would do, he'd come in, take his boots off, he'd unroll the strapping on his ankles, and he'd light up a fag. Ivy on, dull as a brush. He used to sit by Clem every week. Sit next to the boss. Clem was the governor, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Puffing away in his fags like that. And he just, without Ivy noticing, he'd drop fag butt that was still alight on the floor. And he'd look at me, Clem, and he'd just wink. And he knew what would happen. Ivy would step on it. And he'd burn his foot. He used to do it every week.
Every week.
Yeah, lovely man, but what a scrummaging tight head. So yeah, I think that's my front row. Robert Price, Lou said, Ian Jones, and then old Ivy and Pooh on the tight head.
Brilliant. We go second rows.
Yeah, again, didn't play a great deal of rugby with Tony Clement because Tony was winding down at the end of his time. But going back to my throwing the mud incident as a kid, Clem soon became my mentor, my confidant, my coach, my captain. Great second row. Love the man to bits. And I speak to him very often on the phone now, and up the club, have a pint with him. Yeah. Great friend, great man, great company, great leader, great inspiration for me. If he said to me now, jump through that window, I wouldn't hesitate. Yeah. That's the effect he had on me, and not to such a great extent now, but that's the way it was with him. Yeah. Tony, great second row. Then you had Brian Jones. You had my old mate Kevin Brooks, Gerald Davis, Garbo, unfortunately no longer with us. Neil Lucas played for Swansea, played for Neath. Good second row, coached Bony of mine as well. And Roy Price. Roy came to the game a bit too late, I think. I think as Charlie said, if he'd have started out a bit younger, he'd have made a monstrous tight head prop. Roy was the perfect shape for it. A little bit short for second row, but he would give his all. And Roy's a tough man, tough bird, tough cookie. Malcolm Jones, I played with Malcolm. He played on the wing. Played number 8. He played second row. I even played against Llandovery away from home one game. Malcolm played open side flanker. Honestly, that's how Malcolm feel. He could honestly. Towards the end, he ended up playing in the second row. But yeah, great forward, Malcolm. Great player. And then you had Billy McFenton, guy called Alan Howells back in the day. Alan's a great big man, big heavy man. My brother Mark played in the second row. He converted from the flanker. Yeah. Ian Brown, Billy Brown. And then with the athletic boys, I played with Richie Clark, Harold Morgan, Stuart Miller, Chris Williams, Chris Plashant. And then I think I had a couple of games when John Bowden came up from Dunvant. And then Pat Nolan, of course. Yeah. But out of all of them, Mr. Consistency, he never got injured. He played something like 150 games, Heineken League games on the bounce, I think. When he line up ball all day long, that was his game. He would scrummage, do his line-up work, do his tight work, get around the field, and it would have to be Pat. Yeah. He was never injured. He was so consistent, and I think Mark John said the same thing about him. Stuart, and then Pat was a middle line-out forward, and then of course front of the line-out. All those names I've rattled off, they could all play there. Yeah, anyone like For me, the one who was the most complete, and he played for Swansea, Aberystwyth, Neath, was Ian Brown. Billy Brown. I played with him as a kid, played him in youth. Big man, Billy, 6'5", 6, big heavy man, but he knew exactly what he was doing. Yeah, good second row.
That's a strong front five, isn't it? Flip the neck.
So those are the guys that did it for me in the front five.
Great stuff.
So I think then
go for 6 now. Back row.
I start with 8. That's easier.
All right, then go for it.
Number 8 that I played with. Chris Powell, great number 8. Kevin Brooks played number 8. Guy called Di Charles came up from Dunvant. Di played number 8. Alan Miller in his day with the second team. A guy called Mark Pickard. Andrew Scannell, Richard Scannell's cousin. Okay. Malcolm Jones again played 8. And we had a job boy, John Davis, came up from Pennegross. He was a minor. Good forward, good hard forward. And Andrew Llewellyn. Ken Isaac could play 8. Ken was a good 8. But I think for me, the one who epitomised what number 8 play was all about was Malcolm Griffiths. God bless him. Yeah. Taken from this world far too early. Griff was a man's man. He was a leader of men. He was as fit as a fiddle. He was all bone and muscle. He was about 6'3". Unfortunately for Griff, he worked away a lot. But a monster of a player, absolutely incredible. And he was also a monster off the field, because if we ever got in a round with him,
Was it different level?
Oh, completely. He'd turn up to training then on a Tuesday or a Mondays if
Nothing happened, like.
on the weekend. He was a fabulous forward.
Brilliant.
And unfortunately,
Yeah.
taken away from us far too early. And then if you look at 6 again, there's a raft of names. You've got Ken Isaac, ruthless Ken, very, very, very powerful, strong man. I wouldn't want to play against Ken for love nor money. He was bad enough training against him.
Yeah.
He was a beast. To play against him on a Saturday for an opposition team, hard work. With Andrew Myers, Andrew, great line-up forward, get around the field. Now Andrew could play 6, 8 and 7. Klein played a bit on the blind side. Dickie Scannell, Clive Dictaldo, Malcolm Jones again, Di Bailey, Tony Guida came up from Dunvant. My brother Tony, a boy called Andrew McPherson, who came to us when the game went professional, Lee Carlson. So, there's a raft of names there, but I think overall, as a package, line out around the field, do the hard work, do the graft. It would have to be Andrew Myers.
At 6, is it?
Yeah, well, you can put a 6 on his back, you could put a 7 on his back, Stuart. But,
you can go anywhere. Like
he was that comfortable. And then open side, again, this is a dichotomy. This is a difficult one. Open sides, people like I play with John Tregambo, Clyde Dictaldo, Paul Harrison, Di Hills, Alan Davis, a rat, who was a non-stop machine. Martin Thomas, Camp, great open side. My brother Mark, in his day, played open side. Di Squires, Nathan Williams, Colin Clutterbuck. There's 2 names there that are sort of etched into my memory. One is Peter James.
Right.
Peter was an out open side. Peter was what you call a fetcher.
Yeah.
It is Pete, and he'd be there.
Go get it, yeah.
Go get it, Pete. And he was everywhere, and he was 100 mile an hour. Great, absolute open side flanker. Peter wasn't the biggest bloke in the world. Peter didn't do the grunt and the graft and the carry and the banging people over, but he was a brilliant link flanker.
Yeah.
And then my brother Tony, he could play 6, he could play 7. Tony was very good around the field, monster tackler, carry the ball up. Not many players got past him, and he used to run through people for the fun of it when he was his prime and his biggest. So I guess I've torn between Peter and my brother Tony, and without sounding too nepotistic, as it were, or using too much nepotism, I'd have to say my brother Tony.
Get him in there, yeah. We did. He made a few teams as well, didn't he? Fair play. So,
well, he played for Swansea, played for Aberafon, played for Neath. Came back to us. And the game we played against Swansea up the club that day, he was in the back row with me and Andrew Myers, and we took the Swansea back row apart basically.
Yeah.
But it was a flick of a coin basically. But Tony edged it in front of Peter James. Put them together.
Yeah.
What a pair they were. Oh.
What a pack that is, but flipping it. Outstanding. Who's your scrum half then, Sturge?
Here we go again. Back in the day, Alan Powell, West Wales, you couldn't ask for a better scrum half. Nuggety, strong, tough as old boots. Loved taking on opposition back rows. Wasn't afraid. He could pass the ball from one width of the field to the other. He had a hell of a service on him, but only one side basically. A bit limited, but great scrum half. And then probably the most skillful scrum half I'd ever played with and had the pleasure of growing up with was Chris Davis. He had so much pace. He could pass with his left hand, right hand. He could kick both feet. He had a brilliant rugby brain on him. Very quick.
Everyone's been saying that. Yeah. Everyone.
Chris let himself down massively because Chris, everything's so what? It's a joke.
Yeah.
He was pushing Robert Jones at one time. He could have had the Swansea jersey, and he was nip and tuck with Robert Jones all the way through school and that. So Chris, and then another guy came to us from Pontypridd, Graham Alexander.
Yeah, lovely guy.
Lovely bloke, Graham. Great scrum half to play with. Silky smooth pass, tackle, kick. He had the full box of tricks. Sammy Morris played scrum half for a bit. Keith Brooks, bless him. I played 8 when Keith was playing scrum half. We had a boy called Richie Evans. I think he played for the Welsh Deaf team. He had something wrong with his ear. I remember Billy McFenton said to him one day, "Hey, Richie, what happened to your ear? Did a donkey bite it off? Did a donkey..."
Where'd that come from?
But of course, this Richie Evans didn't didn't know what to say to Benny.
Yeah.
And I said, come to me, come into my arm. Let me
Stay
explain.
away from him.
Let me explain to you. And then you had Stuart Turner then with the development squad, Danny Jones, and then Sammy's brother Dean Morris was a decent scrum half as well. But I think the best scrum half I played with was the total package. You had it all: strength, speed, passing, kicking, guts, determination, bone of mine through and through was Michael Clement.
Yeah.
And I think when we played together, we had a bit of telepathy.
Yeah.
We had a great understanding on the field. He knew what I was doing. I knew
It
what
helps
Michael
in
was doing.
8 to 9. Like, you got to have that. Got to.
Michael was a superb player to play with. He's a superb club captain as well. Top player.
And a lovely guy as well.
Absolutely. And then, well, he was that strong. We nicknamed him Popeye.
Yeah.
That strong. He had forearms like that. Like forearms like thighs.
I've seen photos and he's in good nick now as well, isn't he?
Absolutely. Outside half, and I guess Stuart again. Same again. You had people like Chris Davis played outside half, Clive Warlow, Steve Thomas, a boy from Hirwine came to us, Stuart Davis, or we called him Stan. Great outside half. Danny Jones played with Danny. Steve Powell played with him. But outside half, a guy called Steve Meredith, who was a top class cricketer. I think he could have played cricket for Glamorgan. Yeah. Paul Rees, big left boot on him. Paul played outside half. Boy from Vard came up was Dean Morgan.
Yeah, Moggs, yeah.
Dean was like lightning over the first 10, 15. Great player, Dean. Small, typical Welsh outside half. And you had John Griffiths, Biffo, back in the day, played outside half. Mark John did a bit. Malcolm Dacey played a lot of rugby with Malcolm, played a lot of cricket with Malcolm as well. And I think out of all of those, the total package again for me, the guy who could control the game, could whip out passes left and right, pinpoint accuracy, could run the game was Malcolm Dacey. Total class, absolute class act.
Does he come up the club much these days, Sturge?
He doesn't bother. He's more into, he's a committee man in Morriston Golf Club. He plays golf.
He's done there a lot, does he know?
I think he goes and watches his daughters. So one of them's an athlete. She does a lot of running. I think he goes and watches the Swans. I think he's fallen out of love a little bit with rugby, to be honest with you. But great
to have him back up there. A lot of people have mentioned him and everything in his teams. Like, it'd be great to have him up there for.
Well, you had all those caps for Wales, British Lions. Great player to play with. Pain in the arse, mind. He loved him. He loves himself, but slap him about a bit and give him the verbal, and you bring him back down.
Yeah.
He's talking to me, Malcolm. This is reality. Great mate of mine, Dacey.
Good stuff. Go for wingers then.
Wingers. Okay. So we're gonna leave the centres to last. Yeah.
Yeah, centres and fullback for last.
Wingers, I can rattle off loads of names to you. Stuart, Paul John, Johnny Young, Nicky Bonham, Steve Marnie, Lee Rogers, Keith Brooks, Simon Davis, Chris Jenkins, Paul Miles, Di Owls, Nigel Darling, Alan Cameron, Jeremy Bynan, Derek East. Yeah. But out of all of those names, there's two that jump out to me. One, God bless him, he's Derek Haste. He's no longer with us.
Yeah.
Played a lot of rugby with Derek back in the day in West Wales. And one thing about Derek was you knew exactly what was going to happen. And as a back row forward, you didn't have to adjust your angles of running because you knew where the ball would be.
Go in
Derek was a big man. He was quick. He was fit. He was strong. He had great skills. He'd either run through a winger, run over a winger, just look at the winger, and the winger would run the other way. Yeah. Always knew Derek would always go forward. And Derek hated losing. He hated it. He was immense, absolutely immense. And if anything was kicking off up the field, as I said earlier, he was like Marvin Hagler. And bless him, but off the field, what a gentleman. Absolute total gentleman. But great rugby player. Again, taken from us too early, sadly. Loved playing with Derek. You knew, he was that shield of steel you had on that wing,
Good stuff. So he's on your wing. Is he on one? Is he Sturge?
He's on one wing, and then the other one then, again, this is a close call between a few of them, but the other one I got to say is, again, a good old mate of mine. Played cricket with him, great winger, outside centre as well as Ginger, Paul Miles. Yeah, Ginger had loads of pace, very.
I saw that photo of him from Charlie's story on tour, mate. What a photo that is.
That was in Doncaster on tour. Ginger was the complete and the clown. But
he's massive, isn't he? How big he is in that photo?
Oh, big man, yeah. You want to see the size of him now? He's a bit bigger than that now, but he had pace, he had power, he had skill. But he had a brilliant sense of humour as well. And I'm not going to share it over this interview with you, Stuart, but he was some of the things he used to eat, and you'd watch him doing. You'd be in the corner, and like if you ask Charlie Caniff about it, right? Charlie's in the corner throwing, absolutely puking all over because of what he used to do. Great rugby player though, but he had loads of gas. Great player.
Awesome. Yeah, class. Right then, do you want to go centres or do you want to go fullback?
A few, mate. You can go centres or fullbacks.
Let's go centres. Let's go centres and we finish off.
Centres, okay. Again, names are jumping out to me. Clive East, Clive Ford, Mark Isles, Sammy Maddock, Neil Wilcox, Ginger Miles, Chris Jenkins, Clive Warlow, Andrew McCready, Peter Roberts, Nigel Bevan, Simon Llewellyn, Wayne Sykes, Mark John. But I think as a centre pairing, they were a great double act together. You'd have to go with Mark John. Yeah. Mark John was as brave as they come. Quick over the first 10, 15 yards. Mark could kick the ball. Read the game. Very, very skillful player. He was quite a young man in the context of the age group of the team at the time. Yeah. Mark was club captain. I was his vice captain. Great centre. Mr. Reliable, Mark was. And then the other one then, again for me, like his brother, Clive East. Clive East was an absolute superstar. He was a complete athlete. He had pace. He could boot the ball 300 miles. Again, he could pass the ball left and right. Nothing got past him very often. And he could run past people and laugh at them, and he'd leave wingers in his wake. He was that quick. Yeah. People have told me this before, I'm sure, Stu. Clive East should have gone a lot further. Right. But Clive could take it or leave it. It was You're one of those. He wasn't that bothered, and I think towards the end of his time, I think he was probably a bit sorry that he hadn't gone a bit further. Push on, Yeah, but he was quite happy with playing for Bony. He loved playing for Bony. He loved the club. Yeah. He loved playing with his brother Derek. So I guess for me as a centre pairing, it would have to be Clive East and Mark John. Oh,
that's exciting as well. Right then, 15. Who's finishing it off?
Fullback. Well, again, there's a raft of names, mate. You got Mark Isles, Paul Rees, Clive Ola. We talked about Med earlier on. Steve Ellis. And there was a guy then back in the day in West Wales, Tony Wall. His nickname was Max Wall, a comedian. Tony, great outside half, great fullback, good outside half, very, very safe, could kick a ball a mile. And then latterly then, you had Darryl Williams. I played a couple of games with Darryl, I believe. And you had Chris Lewis or Fred. Yeah. Great fullback, great attacking fullback, safe under the high ball, very, very brave, complete fullback. Fred went off to Aberavon, and he could have gone a bit further than that if he wanted to. And then I guess not last but not least would be Sammy Morris. Yeah. Sammy again under the high ball. If the opposition house was kicking the ball behind you, you didn't even have to look.
He's there.
You knew Sam would be there. Yeah. Could kick a ball a mile. Good coming into the line. Penalty kick basically from anywhere.
Yeah, you can boot anywhere, can he?
Fit as a fiddle. Sammy, great athlete. Great player, great friend of mine. So for me, if you're looking for a complete and total fullback, it would have to be Sam Morris.
Brilliant, man. He's flipping heck. He's made some teams as well.
Yeah, well, rightly so. Because
great man.
There weren't many better than him. He was an athlete. He was a brilliant squash player. Tremendous cricket. I played a lot of cricket with Sam, but rugby was his first game, and he was a superb rugby player. He was an athlete, absolutely tremendous player, brave, would tackle. You always knew what was behind you. If there's something, Sammy would clear it up.
Yeah. You could that's what he wants from a 15, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly, mate. You could bank your mortgage on it. He was a bit like Lee Halfpenny's come back into the fold. He's been playing some brilliant rugby lately. You could always rely on Sam. Yeah. He wouldn't let you down. And if he did make a mistake, he'd rectify it, and he'd make 10 better movements. To eradicate the mistake.
Did you find it difficult doing this 15? Was it like?
I did. It was hard work, mate. Not so much, the backs weren't such a challenge, but the forwards, certainly the back row. Because there's so many people, and I apologise now if I've left anybody out or not mentioned anybody, but that was a challenge. Yeah. Certainly playing in West Wales, coming across the generation and playing in the national leagues, and then playing with the athletic boys. Yeah. For me, it was. it's a hell of a player base to try and pick from. And
Yeah, mate. Yeah, go.
But I just, I'm glad I done it. Stu, it's been great doing it and
Great.
sharing things.
It's nice, just nice to just have, go back in time and have a little think, and all the stories and reminisce a bit, isn't it?
Yeah. But there's some stories I could tell you, mate, but perhaps not for this interview.
I think a lot of people have said this to me, right? So I think maybe we should do like an 18+1 or something like that, like a late night story or something like that. Like I think that'd be a good crack. Like, brilliant. Hey, Sturge, thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. And when people talk about Bony and Sturgess, and the name always comes up, mate. And it was just listening to you talking about pal, the passion you've still got for Bony and the passion you've had for Bony for all these years is it oozes out to you, pal. So it's a massive thing for me to sit down and have a chat with you, pal. So thanks very much for giving me your time, and I really do appreciate it. And obviously done so much for the club over the years and continue to do so, supporting the club. And long may it continue, Sturge. And hopefully we'll be going up to Canada next year.
I'll be there, boy.
We'll be there. We'll have a few cold ones out there as well, and reminisce about those times out there as well.
Well, if it's as good as the first one that I was involved in 30 years ago, Stuart, then we'll have a good time. We'll have a blast. I haven't got my top, and I've left it on my caravan in West Wales because I had it on in the pub on Saturday, and people.
Oh, is it?
Did you play for them? Yes, I did play for them. It's
brilliant.
Club, I've always been a one club man, and always will be.
Great stuff, mate. So just on the back of this now, obviously we're getting lots of people liking and subscribing these videos, and I think we're up to like 250 subscribers now on a YouTube channel. So if people want to subscribe, get the videos out, they just got to hit the button here. Just like it, share it to as many people as we can. The whole aim for this is just to get Bony out there again, people talking about the club, and as soon as everything's back open, we'll have a day up there when everyone can get up there and share these stories again over a nice cold one, mate. And I don't think it'll be anything better than that.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Stuart, and allowing me to share with you some of my memories. Great stories. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I lived down West Wales basically for 8 months a year until up mid-October. But from mid-October through to March, I live in Bony. It's as simple as that. I live up there. So awesome. Anyway, thank you, Stuart.
No worries, mate. Thanks for your time, Stuart. Okay. Take care. Right?